Hello, guys, and welcome to the Legendary Ladies podcast. And today we are doing a duo episode. Morgan is not with us. And you know what's so funny? Because I feel like this has become like, are we ever going to do this episode? The Maggie Rogers episode we've been planning is happening next week because it's two albums. We've been planning it for a while. So it's like, oh, we don't want just two of us. We want to have all 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why last week we didn't have Amy. We're like, okay, let's do the Hawaii. And then this week we didn't have Morgan. So we're like, let's do a different topic. And next week we should have everybody. So we will do Maggie Rogers. But in the spirit of music, because we've been covering a lot of it. And honestly, it's the stuff that's been newer this past couple of months. There's just been
nice.
a lot of new music. Which I'm happy about. There hasn't been a lot of shows or movies.
No. I did consider the Met
Fall
Gala
Guy
looks.
Oh, okay. Met Gala.
No. Fall Guy, yes. I thought about Met Gala looks, but I feel like that is a necessity to have Morgan on. Mm-hmm. Like, I have to get Morgan's opinions on some of these costumes, but maybe
I don't know how much of an opinion I would be able to give, so I'd be like, that looks cool. Or that looks
I forgot
weird.
about Fall Guy. That might be kind of fun.
We should. I haven't had a chance to see it. I'm one movie behind because I heard that's good. I wanted to go see Challengers and we were supposed to see it this week, but we found no time. So next week we're going to see that. And then the week after that, we'll see Fall Guys. So we're getting there. We're getting there with the movies. But so we're going to cover Dua Lipa's new album, which is Radical Optimism. And I'm proud of Amy because she's the one who came to me about this. And she's on the pulse for all music right now.
You know, it wasn't me. The idea
was you.
It was me. But the idea came to me because I was doing my last show, and this show that we just finished, The Wind People, was a 75-minute show with no intermission. So there was no real behind the stage scene time. We literally rehearsed up until the morning that it premiered because it meant that we didn't get a lot of time to like really talk to each other. We were working until the lunch breaks between the shows, and we all started talking about, oh, what are you listening to now, blah 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 blah. And one of my co-stars was talking about the new Dua Lipa album. He had a lot of opinions on like the Great Gatsby musical and Water for Elephants Broadway musical, which is a real big bummer apparently. He didn't like Water for Elephants, which is the new Grant Gustin.
He saw musical. It, so is he from New York, or what did he do?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is actually an individual who has been on Broadway, which was pretty cool to be in a show with an actual Broadway performer.
He didn't like Water for Elephants because I like one of the actors who's in it was in Prom, the original Prom Broadway show, and I really like her. So if I was gonna go see it, would be for that. But
now, his musical opinions and mine, based on our conversation, don't align directly. We had some things in common. We had some very differing opinions. So he recommended this album. He really enjoyed this album. I really enjoyed this album. So that was what got me thinking about the Duo Dua Lipa album review, which is just really fun to say. Duo Dua Lipa.
That's why we did it, really. That's why we did it, really. For the pun.
But I would be curious if you get a chance to go see Water for Elephants. Let me know how it is because I'm like rooting for it. The little things that I've heard, I've really loved. Same with Gatsby. The things that I've heard, I've really loved. But Great Gatsby releases its original soundtrack in late June, which I know it's not necessarily your jam, but I really want to go for it. I really want to do it.
My friend, I think I've talked about it before. I have a friend who loves Broadway.
Broadway.
What's my jam for Broadway? Yeah, I like Broadway.
Yeah, but are you a Broadway soundtrack? I can listen to the soundtrack, or I need to be watching the show.
No, I can listen to the soundtrack. I think
this
show does. Yeah, let's do it. No, I would love to do that. I like Broadway, so that's fine. No, I have a friend who really loves Broadway, so she got me tickets to go see that Painter lesbian musical that is going off Broadway very soon. It's called
what?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it's called. Painter lesbian music Broadway. I'm telling you, you could type that in, you'll find the show. Lempicka. And it's not lesbian, it's actually bisexual. So there you go. I
even better.
Exactly. And I think my friend actually even said that. It's like, you're bi, you have to go see this. And I was like, okay. I guess she had, and then we were gonna go see it in June, but she's like, oh no, it closes before June. How homophobic is that? Let's go see it. So we are going to go see that next week, I think. So I'm going to be seeing that show. We did lose Amy for a second, but I think she's here, I think. In the
I'm
background.
back.
There you are. There you go.
My green beans were on fire.
I had a feeling you were
Did
cooking.
you see the smoke?
No, I didn't see the smoke.
So for any of you who are joining us on YouTube, or if you are interested, you're just listening and you'd like to watch this episode, we are recording video as well as the audio, so you can watch on our YouTube page at The Legendary Ladies. If you are a Patreon, you'd be able to join us live for this episode. You get to join us in the chat. We're rolling out a couple new Patreon features very shortly. We know we keep saying that, but Patreon has been like slowly rolling out their new features, which include things like chat rooms and separate chat rooms, which is a really cool new feature, where you can just talk to like specific tiers, which is even cooler. So we're looking to do a major revamp with our Patreon, but you guys can find us patreon.com/thelegendaryladies, and you can join us. Some of the episodes that we're doing this last month and the coming month are episodes suggested by our patrons, and because you're our amazing patrons, you get first dibs at what we talk about.
Yeah,
so if you
and
really
sometimes we do double recordings.
Yes, you get episodes weeks ahead of time, often. But if you are watching on video, or rather if you're not watching on video, I'm currently in my deck in my backyard area grilling on a camper charcoal grill because I don't have enough space for an actual grill nor the money for an actual grill. But this was a gift that I have used as regularly as possible. I love grilling. And my green beans were just getting a little toasty there, so real fast. Kind of close down the heat a little bit. And they're actually really perfectly done. I'm very excited about my green beans.
I hope we get a little scene of it before this episode ends. But yeah, no, grilling is great, and I agree. You get some good flavors on there. But let's start talking about Dua Lipa. So first, we'll talk about our past with her. I'll go first, and then Amy, you tell me what. Well, you told me how you found this album, but I knew the album was out. I'm a big Dua fan. I've listened to her stuff since honestly her first album. I remember I was watching a British show, and there was this. It's called like Ackley Bridge, and I heard a song on there, and it was like it was the I Don't Give a Fuck song. I was like, oh, this is really good. And this is like before she was popular in the States, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna listen to her. And then she started getting popular in the States, and the Future Nostalgia came out, which I believe was her last album. I don't think there was an album after that between this and Future Nostalgia. But I was like, wow, this is really good. You got Physical. You got these really cool dance numbers that feel like I heard this somewhere, and I think there's a line in one of the songs, and I'm stealing this from another review, but they said it's dance music that's controlled. You know, it's a very controlled voice.
Yes, and it's highly what's the word I'm looking for? Mixable. That's not the word I'm looking for. When you take a song and you add all your own spin to it, you add the
to make it like a remix, to make it
Thank you. That was the word I was having a lot of trouble saying. But like even just listening to this, I was like, this is so remixable. There are so many options for DJs to play with this in different settings. You can get real banging at Coachella, dance club. You can make it a little bit more relaxed at just a certain bar setting. Like there's so many options. And these songs are also seem like they would translate really well into an acoustic setting as well, which I'm always a huge fan of. I love people who remix dance songs like this or club songs into acoustic songs because man, they hit.
I recommend if you haven't seen it, I'll even link it in the private chat and in our thing. She did an NPR Tiny Desk when COVID was going on. So her previous album has an acoustic version of that album, and that's when I really it's Tiny Desk. I'm gonna show it to you. It's this is from 3 years ago. She's saying. I'm going to show it. Yeah. She's saying Levitating, Pretty Please, Love Again, Don't Start Now. But it was all awesome. Like acoustic. So I'm going to give you that in the private chat. And for you guys in the watching YouTube, I also put it there. But yeah, just search Dua Lipa Tiny Desk. And it's very much like, and I like this version even more because you get to really hear her voice. And again, I was just saying that she has a very controlled voice, even though I think that's harder with dance music because A, you're dancing, and then B, it's just like it's not a ballad, it's not singer-songwriter. And something I really like about this album, something we wanted our topic to be, and we'll go in our top 5 because that's a fun way to break down the songs. But I find it interesting when you listen to dance music. A lot of times, it's just like, how do you there's certain topics that you'll talk about. Like you think, at least and I'm not saying this is all dance music, but when I think about dance music, I think about how the lyrics being about how you're dancing, right? Like I feel like it's like how you shaking your ass, this stuff, whatever.
Okay, I like that.
Or it's very just like easygoing, like hit me baby one more time, like just very, very easy lyrics. And I think that Dua does a really cool job at making it easy. Like this album is very easy to listen to. There's not a lot of songs, thank you God, no 30 songs like Taylor Swift or even Beyonce had so many songs. It just was really, really clean. But also, we talked about this in a previous episode. I like that it wasn't really that personal either. Like there's things you could relate to as a human being, but it's not like, oh, this guy did this to me or this person did this to me. It's just like, this is how I feel. Maybe you relate to it, maybe you don't. And maybe I relate to it and maybe I don't. And I think
but we can all dance to it.
Yeah, we can all dance to it. And I will talk about the later half of the album, but I think what's really fascinating about this album in general is that there is like some sadder tones to it, like especially the later half, but it's still danceable. And you're still like, oh, I'm dancing to this sad song. And it's still thoughtful. And I think that's what the brilliance of this album is, and the brilliance of Dua in general is just like, how does she do it? How do you make dance music be so concise, I guess?
I think... what's interesting is that we talked about when we were talking about the newest Taylor Swift album, which, by the way, she is now already integrating into her Eras tour. I don't know if you saw that. It's all over TikTok. She has now integrated most of the big ones into the end of her Eras tour in Paris. She's already
even longer.
She's got this. Yeah, I gotta tell you, that was a long one. I wonder if she kicked other songs out. Probably not.
Maybe.
Taylor Swift, she's probably like, nah, you sticking around. You ain't going nowhere. But man, there's one video where she's singing Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, and she gets up to that phrase, the Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, and she drops her voice, and she points to the audience, and the sound of the audience screaming Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, like literally, it even gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Like it was a really, really cool.
And it just came out a few weeks ago. That's crazy. Yeah. And it's also crazy that, I mean, obviously the Eras tour has been going on for, I feel like 2 years now.
Right.
At
least a year. Because it was last year around this time that I went to.
Probably a
year.
Maybe it was probably a year. You're right, because I'm also thinking about the time of like when you bought the tickets. So probably a year and a half buying tickets, but then the actual tour started a year ago.
I think.
I know it's gone. I know October, like she's going back to America. She's doing like Here's Miami again. Which is crazy. And then
got new stuff to add to it.
Yeah.
She's a force of nature. But we were talking about how like last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about the album, I talked about how I had to sit down. I had to sit down, listen to it. It was like I was reading a book. It was like I was listening to an audiobook, but reading the book at the same time. Like it felt like work, but not because it was challenging in that it was difficult to listen to, but it was challenging me as a listener.
Sure.
Yes. This was nice. This was nice to just kind of listen to that easy, chill, mellow. There were points where I was tuned in, but there were points where I was not. But then I listened to it on repeat all day today while I cleaned the inside of my house, which is one of the other reasons you guys are not inside right now. It's an absolute disaster. Everything is everywhere. It's just a mess. But over time, I started, singing some of the beats back and forth and singing some of the songs. And that's kind of how I picked my top. Were the ones that either I stopped and were like, oh, let me keep listening to that. Or the ones where I'm like, this is in my head. And I kind of liked that. And you guys have seen me do top fives before. Oftentimes for music, I pick the ones that I just find myself playing on repeat. Sometimes Taylor's top fives are not always that. You can't listen to Manuscript 6 times in a row because you will find yourself crying by the end of it. And that was an emotional state. I really, yeah. And it was not a state that, I wanted to be in. This was really nice. This was really relaxed. It was really chill. But yes, it also had some good stories to it. I thoroughly enjoyed almost every song. Like, I don't think there was a song where I was like, ooh, that needs to be cut. I think it was a really crisp, clean album. Was it 5 stars? No. There was a lot of points where it was very similar, same kind of
I think Future Nostalgia is better. I think her last album was a bit better.
But
But
I would say, like, for me, this was a solid 4 out of 5 stars.
same.
Like, yeah, I'll be listening to this again. I'll put it on my playlists. I have no problem. I'll be listening to this at work. I'll be humming it, singing it. I'll enjoy listening to it at at a club or wherever. But I
But
don't
like you said, it
have.
was easy to listen to because
It's
that's something
easy to
that was
listen
such
to.
a big difference because we talked about doing this a few days ago. And again, I was already going to listen to it, but I was like, oh, now I have an excuse to really listen to it. And I like to, like, sometimes I'll play my little Call of Duty and I like to listen to music while I zone out and just like do my thing. So I it was like, oh, let me listen to the Duo album for the first time. And I found myself listening to it a lot because it was so easy. But when we were doing the Taylor episode, it was so hard to get through
It was just too
all
hard
the
to get through. There
songs.
was too much.
Yeah, it was
It
too
was
much.
too thick a book. Sometimes a nice
Mm.
short novella is exactly what I want.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the title, and then we'll go to the again the top five. But I think
Mm-hmm.
I love her juxtaposition, right? Like radical optimism. You're like, okay, well, what does that mean? those are like they negate each other. But when you listen to the album, you understand what she means. It's just like, okay, there's this for the most part, this love that she had to let go of, or she has to realize that love is maybe a different than what she once saw it to be. And she's optimistic about it. And I think that's so interesting. Again, you just had the Taylor album come out a few weeks ago. And you have this really scathing view of love and her relationships and very traumatic I guess poetry, but this is just like this kind of, and it ends on it too, it's just this kind of again optimism of this didn't work out and that's okay. That doesn't make you the worst human being in the world. And yeah, I just think the title, and she did it again with that previous album, Future Nostalgia. It's like, what the hell does that mean? Future nostalgia is the past, the future is the future. And you listen to it and you're like, oh wow, the sound does sound like your 90s vibe, and then but there is this kind of modern take to it. So I was like, oh, I get what future nostalgia means. And the same thing for radical optimism. It's like, no, that makes sense to me.
It almost feels like a direct response to Taylor Swift, even though it's
Sure.
not. There's no
They can't
connection,
be.
but it does.
Yeah.
It feels like a direct response to, a lot of songs, a lot of popular music that comes out that kind of gets a little too personal. I feel like sometimes there's one way or the other. There's radical optimism, or there is sort of this longing and desperation for what you once had. Like there's the stories that you get, and sometimes there's like it's almost like unbridled rage versus radical optimism. And I liked how different this was. It's one of the reasons I really enjoyed the Carly Rae Jepsen album.
Yes.
Because there were songs on there where I actually identified with the desire for the optimism, the desire for the chill, the mellow, because
she's comedic too. She almost makes, she's like, okay, I'm going through these things that suck. Like, Beach House, I think it's, it's Beach House. That's a great example where it's like almost a very parody where she's like, I'm going on all these dates and they fucking suck. Apps suck. But she's just like, you got to laugh about it. Right. It's like, whatever. It sucks. And in another song, I could say this is the worst thing ever. But like in this version, it's just like, gotta laugh. And yeah, I agree. Carly does that a lot. And I almost, it's interesting to have like Taylor come out and then Beyonce. I'm almost missing Carly. I'm just like, man, I want her to have a new album because she's such a hidden gem when it comes to pop.
There's so much to be said about what you're talking about. That sort of hidden positivity where you're like, oh, they're in a bad place, but they're making the best of it, because that has always been my life motto, that as I get older, it gets harder to do. And that's the world. That's the way it goes. The more challenges you face, the harder it is to have that radical optimism. Sometimes just looking it in the face and saying, you know what? Shit might be hitting the fan, but we're going to do our best to smile through it. We're going to do our best to fake it till we make it. And there's songs on this album that talk about that, like Maria, which I find hilarious. She's like, okay, yeah, remember this one time that the guy I'm with either cheated on me or has history with this woman. You know what? I'm okay with that, because it reminds him of how much I am so much better than her. Like, I am just a winner. And so thank you, Maria. Thank you for reminding him how amazing I am. And I was like, you know what? That's kind of fun. That's a great way to approach a really, difficult subject, because Taylor would have written a completely different story.
Right. Be like,
Taylor's
F
story.
him.
Yes, it would have been a completely different story about what happens if the man I'm with, I find out he at one point cheated or he's hung up on this other girl. It would have been
And what does
all
that
about
mean for
how
me? Yeah. How does
how
she?
she
Yeah.
deal with the situation.
Yeah.
That was freaky. You read my brain right there.
Yeah. No, but
Like
it's true though. It's true.
how do I
And
deal with this situation and get rid of him, as opposed to how do I deal with this situation and
be
stay
better as a
with
person,
him?
or that
Yes.
too. Yeah. But like, just
Yeah.
also just like analyzing yourself and being like, okay, I could go in the mode of terrorist, right? Like just go in the mode of like, I'm gonna get crazy.
Rage
But
machine.
rage machine, exactly. Or I'll just be like, all right, let's see, let me figure out this internally, how I feel about this, and maybe not do that.
It's kind of like in the workplace when you get one of those like backhanded compliments. They're like, you're a really strong personality. So I could see how that rubs people the other way. And you're like, yeah, but you just called me strong. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna take that as a compliment. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But let's get into the top five. So what's interesting is that you said your top five's kind of like a little all over the place. So you want to,
I have a top five. I actually,
Okay.
I think I wrote it out actually
The
in
way you
my
want
top
to.
five. And you know what's interesting is that I had to look up Taylor's album list. I did not with this. I knew right away. I there was one where I was like, oh, what's that actually called? And okay, I know that one.
But you
like,
knew
it was boom, 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 boom. Five right off the cusp.
The songs are also one thing I want to go back to. The songs are also pretty distinct. Like they're all dance music, they're all dua, but I'll listen to Illusion and even Houdini, which they sound like the same title, and they don't sound the same. They're not the same song. So I very much applaud to have such a through line of a sound without sounding the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a struggle. So number five. Let's hear your number five.
I think, well, here, no, you go first, because I'm pulling up, as I said that, I'm pulling up the album to make sure that, to like, just remind myself, oh yeah, that's the one I was thinking about.
Sure.
As I'm like, I know which ones it are.
I'm also have to do the same thing with just lyrics. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what this one's about.
That's the one that said this one, and that's the one that said that one.
Falling Forever is my number five. This is a little tough because I feel like this is one of the more forgettable ones of the album, but every single time I listen to it, I have a fun time listening to it. So that's why I kept it on here. It's just like every time I turn it on, I'm like, oh, that's a fun one.
Yeah. Okay. I'm listening to it right now because I said again, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I
so
like
which
the
one
opener
is that?
of this one.
Exactly. It grabs you right away, and that's something every single time I kept going back to it because I was like, is this or Houdini? And Houdini is a tricky one for me because when that single first came out, I was like, this is not Dua's best work, and I still feel that way. I don't think it's her best work, but I think it works as a single, and I think it's gonna be a fun little summer dance music. But this is one where it got me right away, and I was like, this is fun. It's not the most memorable one out of all of them, but when I listen to the album, I'm sure I'll continue to say that's the fun one.
Yeah. I actually have Houdini as my number five. I don't really listen to a lot of radio. We don't get where I live, and because my car, like the little antenna, it doesn't work properly, so I don't get a lot of good radio. So I don't think I've actually heard this one before. I didn't realize that she had released that ahead of time.
Yeah, that's the single.
But it was very catchy to me. It had a very
That's a good chorus.
Oh my gosh, what was the Barbie song? Dance the Night Away?
Yes, yeah, with Dua.
It had that kind of vibe to it. Summer dance song. Totally on brand. That's exactly what it is. This would be one that I don't see a lot of people doing a bunch of remixes for. Like you could do a little bit, but this is just a good one. This is one that could be fun for like the background of TikTok dances. This could be a TikTok trend. I always kind of end up approaching some of these from a social media standpoint because it is really interesting to look at the market and how social media makes such an impact on how a song is perceived. And that's one of the reasons that Taylor's last albums did so good. That level of relatability does lend itself not only to individual stories, but there's a lot of fiction and movies and TV where they can put her Who's Afraid of Little Old Me on top of a bunch. You could put it over Vampire Diaries. You could put it over the ACOTAR book series. Like, there's just so many options. This one is just a fun, chill in the background
little party song, yeah.
And it's a very party song. And it does have kind of, like, it's got fun lyrics. Like, you know, if you want me to stay, be better. Otherwise, I'm out. Like, I enjoy that. I enjoy the idea of her being like, you know what? Maybe you could be the one to make me stay, but right now I come and go. Like,
and again,
you can try.
That's a lot of the songs, and we'll talk about, I'm sure, Illusion a little later. But, you know, that's kind of the premise of the album.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to number 4. This is where I started. Again, I listened to the beginning of this album. I'm like, this is just going to be dance music, whatever.
Yeah.
And then as it went on, you're like, whoa, this is a little bit more than dance music. Because, again, the first, like, 3 or 4 songs, I just, Houdini was fine because I like the single. But, like, the opener song, I wasn't that impressed with. But then when I got to...
Opener's not on my list.
I got to French Exit. I was like, this is Dua. I'm ready. And I really, really... Okay, 4-2? French Exit. Cool.
Yeah. French Exit's my 4th, too.
Because the lyrics kind of hit right away. You're just like, okay, like, I'm not actually even feeling this vibe. I feel like I'm just, like, kind of want to leave. Yeah. And I was just like, I really like the candidness of it. Of like, okay, I just don't really have feelings for this. And that's okay. Yeah. It just was a fun song. And it obviously, like, all these songs are catchy, right? There's still that dance music element. And I almost feel like, I don't know why I picture it, but I picture, maybe it is the lyrics and I just don't remember, but her in a club, you know, just like that's where this whole situation is going on.
100%. This one I really like because, first off, French Exit is similar to the Irish Goodbye. It's the physical version of I'm ghosting you. It's walking away without saying goodbye, without making connections. You're just out. I've worked with a director before who was like that. He would come, he would see every show, and then he would leave. He'd come, see every show, leave. He'd get his notes by email, but that was it. And then at the very end of the show, you know, I'm going to go and, you know, do my appropriate sucking up. Thank you so much for this opportunity. If we work together again, it'll be great. He's gone. Sure. I'm literally seeing him going to the parking lot, and I was like, and someone said, no, that's his thing. He does an Irish exit. And I'd never heard that phrase before, but that was the way that he, that was just his jam. But he was always reachable. Like, to this day, he's still written me letters of recommendation. He's a really cool guy. He just connects differently. And so this song kind of brought me back to that vibe, but it very much feels like she's in a club, and it's the story of, like, this is how I'm going to respond to what I'm seeing right now. I'm not here to connect. I'm not here to make a long take-home story. I am just here to have a good time, and then I'm out. And I really like it, and I really like the French that she added in there. But yeah, I generally enjoy this song. It's also just very catchy, and like you said, it's a very lyrically strong song. Very textbook.
It grabs you right away.
It grabs you right away. Yeah. Same thing, kind of background vibey, but it's almost got like a jazz club sort of a beat to the background. It's is it swing? I'm listening to it.
I'm glad you're listening, because I always, like, every single time we do these, I'm just like, I should listen to the song while we talk about it. So Amy has a musical background.
Sorry, so I'm like listening to them. It's got a syncopated rhythm to it in the back. I did not take musical theory. I did not take jazz, so I can't be like, this is clearly a 5/8 theme. I don't know. All I've seen is Whiplash. Okay, but it's very syncopated. Dun, dun, dun. And it's a very jazzy sort of a vibe. Like, you could see this. I could see this person singing this song in a real fancy upscale, like, wine club, low lighting, fancy wine, top shelf wine and drinks. And then maybe people buy her drinks. Maybe she dances a little bit and then she's out. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I aspire to this. This is great. This is what I aspire to. I want to go to a fancy wine club, drink some music, drink some
Drink
fancy
music.
wine, dance a little bit, and then be like, no, actually, you can't have my number. No, you can't
Sure.
follow me
Yeah.
on Insta. You know what? Bye. And no, you don't even say bye. French exit, you don't say bye. You just disappear. And that's the whole thing of a French exit. And if you really want to get into it, I'm just thinking about this now. The French phrase au revoir, which I don't think she says in it. Now I'm going to look.
I don't think so.
Au revoir is a very common French thing, goodbye.
Sure.
It doesn't actually mean goodbye. Au revoir means till we meet again. And so it's very interesting that of the options for this, the French exit or an Irish goodbye, which are the same things, she chose French exit, which is about as far away from au revoir as we can. I don't know if you guys saw this. If you're watching the YouTube, I got the thumbs down on my YouTube thing. We don't know why StreamYard decides to accept
you in
certain...
particular.
Yeah, just
gestures.
My hand motions. Oh, that's so funny. Hold on. What happens if I do my celebration?
You're definitely gonna...
No, it's not doing it.
Aw. You
It's
got
not
the
doing my
thumbs down,
celebration
though.
hands. Oh, it was 2 thumbs up. That's right.
So no, it was never celebration hands. But yeah, no, going back to the song, I agree. I think it's like her being too good for it all in a good way, not in like I'm egotistical. It's just like, dude, I'm good.
I came what I came for.
I came
Came
for.
to
I
dance.
came for.
Bye.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that was both our number 4s. Let's see number 3. So for me, it was Happy for You. That's the last song of the album, and I think it really closes the thread of a thesis statement really well, of this radical optimism, where again, she's talking about this former lover that she had, and she sees him online, sees him wherever, and says, I see you're happy, and that's cool. I'm happy for you too, and that's okay. It's okay. We're not together, and things didn't work out. That doesn't mean you're a horrible human being, and doesn't mean I wish bad for you. Great. And then there's no like bitterness, and I think that's so freeing and so different, because like, again, when you have those topics in songs, there's always this Olivia Rodrigo undertone of like, or Taylor Swift undertone of like, fuck you. And she doesn't do that here, and it's so refreshing. It's so like, that's sometimes how relationships work too. Like, we liked each other, didn't work out, that sucks, but it's almost therapeutic, this album, I would say, because it's just like, there's so many albums that are about like, I'm gonna live I'm never gonna let this go, I'm never gonna live it down, you're controlling my mind, and again, French Exit's more like, man, I'm good, I'm not gonna think about it. This is like, cool, okay, gonna leave that alone too. And it's just like her almost making peace with things, which kind of feels, again, nice for a dance album about radical optimism.
I would argue that this song is less dance, more just upbeat storytelling. Like, I would think it's very much it's the end of a book. It's the final chapter, where it's the epilogue, where they kind of go, you know what, Katniss and Peeta don't get together, but that's okay, because Katniss finds her thing, Peeta finds his thing. They don't have children, which neither one of them wanted, and they live happily ever after, but not together. And that's okay.
That's okay.
Like, there's something nice about just, that's okay. That, again, radical optimism, looking at it from the perspective of, okay, this wasn't great, but it's not bad. It's okay.
Or will be okay,
Or will be okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So my top 3, I'm having trouble ordering, because I keep going back and forth. I think my number 3... No, but I started and I'm like, no, that's not the one I think is number 3 for me.
I was in my 1 and 2 I kept going back and forth with, but I think I made a final decision on.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let me give you my top 3, and we're gonna help. We're gonna break these down, okay? My top 3 are Training Season.
Oh, that's not on mine at all.
Really, Maria.
Also not on mine.
And These Walls. Really?
These Walls was close. These Walls, I think when you got to that part of the album, I was like, all right, this is fun. Maria, I know you really liked, and I didn't hate. Yes. It just wasn't an earworm for me as much for you.
Oh, the other one, total earworm. Training Season is very catchy for me. And I really like the lyrics of Training Season.
Okay, let me
so Training Season's lyrics talk a lot about the fact that I don't want to have to train you to be a good boyfriend. I don't like
Mm,
this. Like, we're not stepping into this relationship for us to, quote, figure your shit out.
right.
I want you to already have that figured out. I am not ready. I want you to be someone that I can, quote, give my heart to. Um, what's the chorus? Because training season's over. I try to see my lovers in a good light. Don't want to do it just to be nice. Don't want to teach you how to love me right. I hope it hits me like an arrow. Someone with potential. Is it too much to ask for someone who understands? I need someone to hold me close. Like, I I like the fact that it's the radical optimism of her choosing to have standards, of her literally saying, you know what? I don't want to be someone who needs to fix you. I don't want to train you how to be a good communicator. I don't want to train you how to love me physically and otherwise. I don't want I don't want to have to train you to do all these things. I want the feeling of being hit with an arrow and being like, oh my God, this is love. I'm like, she talks about a rodeo, like, I'm feeling wild, I'm feeling crazy, I'm loving this moment. And I love the fact that you are working everything out. Like, you already have that. And like, if you're not ready for that, if you're not ready to catch the arrow that I'm flinging at you, I'm not interested. Training season's over. And
I
she
looked
says, can you
up
compete?
I looked
Yeah.
up the song to see. First of all, it is one of the more popular songs on Spotify for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there, and the reason
Mm-hmm.
being, I think this was the second single that came out. I knew
It
Houdini
might
came
be.
out, but this is the second
Got it.
single, which makes sense because again, it is a little all the reasons you're saying lyrically, but also it is one of the more a song you could
Yes.
dance to.
This one has a real clear beat where a DJ could, I don't know what the term is for when they start a beat and then they add in their own and they transitioned it to another song. Whatever the official word for a musical transition between songs is, this one is the one. This one's got all the good things that they need. Um, so that's why I like Training Season. Maria's just super catchy for me. And again, I really love the theming of it. I really love the lyrics of it about her talking about how, you know what, this guy, and I actually could not 100% figure out if she's talking about, oh, he cheated on me, or oh, he's emotionally cheating on me, or oh, he's in love with that other woman. Um, Based on the first few lyrics, says he'll never leave me. He means it. It sounds almost like he's been, quote, emotionally cheating on someone, or on her, the character, whoever this was. He cheated or emotionally cheated with whoever this Maria girl was, and now he's come back and he's like, oh, I realized what I was like about to lose. And instead of her being like, you know what, you cheated on someone else, she's like, yeah, see, you could have had me and you chose her. Want to try again? And he's like, yes, please.
It's a very
So
Jolene's become a thesis statement for some reason of the year. But it's a very it's a very like different version of like Jolene, right?
Jolene is very much the main character begging Jolene, don't take my man. This girl is like,
But
if you
the
want to take my
Beyonce
man,
version,
oh,
the Beyonce,
yes,
yeah.
a
So like
little bit.
Jolene, and then for some reason, Beyonce, not for some reason, but Beyonce's like, let me turn the table. And then
Uh
I feel
huh.
like this is a similar thing where again, you're using the name Maria, you're using like the other girl's name, and you're like, nah, like not saying,
And
oh please, I want my man. Like it's like,
she's like,
nah,
if you want him, take him. In this
yeah.
case, it's not her to like Jolene saying, if you want him, take him.
Mm,
It's her to her man going, if you want her, take her. Oh no, you don't want her? Okay. That's what I
mhm.
thought. But it also has a little bit of a Latinx vibe to it if you listen to the music. Maria is not saying it is in any way, shape, or form always a 100% Latina name, but it is a very common Latina name. And so that vibe that's in there, she puts in that little bit of a bit of a Spanish twist to it. And so it could be this, if you think about it, drop dead, gorgeous, bombshell, beautiful, either Spanish or Latin American, bombshell woman. And she's like, all right, fine. If you want that, you can have that. You tried that and you realized you didn't get me. So I love the lyrics. I think it's very catchy. I think it is really powerful when lyricists use names and specifically refer to a name. Um,
I do
then my
think that should
last
be
one
your
is,
number one though, because that one you've mentioned a few times already, and you said it
but
was an
I've
earworm for
also
you.
It is an earworm, but I'm also holding off talking about These Walls.
Okay, let's hear it. That is a good one. I do like These Walls.
I love These Walls for multiple different reasons. First off, I love the fact that it is a more ballady one. It is not Training Season, These Walls, those are club mixable. This one is a little bit more riding through the Pacific Coast Highway with the windows down. Not even like a convertible, just the windows down. You just got your hair's blowing, that kind of a thing. It's that sort of a feeling where you're like, I think I can relate to this connection with these two people who are trying over and over and over and over again to make things work, and it's not working. And someone is finally saying, y'all need to stop. Like, this is not working. Enough. Give up. And I really love the idea of it being an inanimate object. I mean, think about how many times people have used the phrase, if the walls had eyes, or if, a fly on the wall kind of a thing. And so literally her saying, this space that you live in, this space that you occupy together, physically can't even hold you together. And it's very catchy to me. It's got a lot of actually Carly Rae Jepsen vibes too.
It's also interesting that she does so many songs that project about other people. They're not very personal songs. Like These Walls, like that's about you. Maria, that's about you. Like that's something that's super interesting, is that she's introspective all at the same time, not introspective, because she's just like, she doesn't put anything on her, and at least in this album.
It's about relatability, but not necessarily
which I like
putting her own story in. I like the fact that at some point I feel like everybody has probably felt at least one of these songs. Like weirdly, French Exit actually does really, like, there are times when I literally just want to go and have a good time and leave. Maria is interesting because how would I deal with the emotions of someone if they emotionally or physically cheated on me? Training Season is also very relevant to me because I am notoriously and probably detrimentally really picky. And I definitely, that's one of the first things that goes through my brain is, oh no, I don't have the energy to fix you. I don't have the energy to try. Like, no, like you need to have your shit together. Like, even if my shit's not together, it doesn't need to be a perfect package, but there are certain things that I'm looking for. And a lot of it's just emotional maturity. And there, it doesn't matter who you're dating, how old they are, what gender, how you identify, nothing. If the person doesn't have that emotional maturity, you'll know pretty quickly. And some people are the "but daddy, I love him" or "I can fix him" version of the Taylor Swift story. It's not me, and so I connect. Or
your Training Season.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the gym any more than I have to. But then These Walls is also relatable because how many times have I been the wall? I'm always like, from the outside looking in, I'm always that friend that's like, okay, do you really want to know my opinion? This ain't working. This ain't working. Whether it is a relationship, whether it's chemistry between characters in shows that I've been in, whether it's literally like workplace. If I'm like, okay, so here's the thing, these two coworkers, it's not gonna work. Like, I don't know how it's not gonna work. And so I've been the wall more often than not. But all of these have different meanings to me. So I will have to, while you talk about your top three, I'm going to have to try to organize them. You can help me. I don't have any.
I think now I just feel like you like them equally, but I still think Maria, I still think that should be your number one. I say if I had to rank them for you, I'd say Maria, These Walls, and then Training Season. That's where I see it, but I cannot choose for you.
I think I'm going to do Training Season number 3. I'm going to do Maria number 2.
Okay. And then These Walls.
I can't decide.
So just know that's the range of the top.
Those are my top 3. You know what? I'll tell you what, listeners, based on this, what are my top 3? Or convince me. Email us, thelegendaryladies@gmail.com. Instagram, thelegendaryladies. Let us know. Pick one for me. Help me out. Those are my top 3. These Walls, Maria, Training Season. I think Maria goes down a little bit because I love Training Season's vibes. I love These Walls' story, but I think that's kind of in the middle. So These Walls kind of sits at 3. I think Maria's 2, and I think Training Season's 1.
Oh, wow.
But that also just changed 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay, so what are your top 3?
So my number 3 I mentioned already, which was Happy for You. Number 2, because I just like a good quiet song sometimes, even on like the poppiest of albums, is actually Anything for Love, where you get that little talky section. Yeah, and then I really like the song because, again, of the message of it all, where it's just like, she's like, this is how I saw love, but this is how love is, and how love changes as you grow older. And I don't know, it's just something about especially the middle of the song that I think really just kind of hooks me. It's the one that I have been listening when I go back to the album, like, all right, which song am I picking? It's that one. It's short, it's sweet. Not actually like sweet in the lyricism, but like, you know, it's one of the more emotional songs, and that's what I tend to like. Oh, there, it got a little dark.
I tried to get us some light outside. It literally just looked like a spooky little. I looked like a campfire's terror story.
I like that it shocked me because Amy wasn't on camera. I was like, oh, I didn't see it getting dark, so that was fun.
Oh, that's so funny. So what kind of identifies for you a more chill song? Is it the beat? Is it the lyrics? Is it the story?
The beat for me. Yeah, because I mean, the story is pretty similar to the other ones about love and her analyzing love. So the story is pretty similar, but it's also like, again, the beginning of it is her hanging out with her crew, hanging out with her band. They're just like, try it one more time. Yeah.
I like that
one. So it's very like, let's just get into it, guys. Let's do it. And then she's like, yeah, that was the take. And I love songs like that. Like there's some great Beatles songs that do that. Yeah. Because then you're like, all right, this was the last take. Let's do it. And you just kind of get that almost oneer. You're just like, okay, no cuts. Let's just do this thing. And that's what made it feel chill, is that you're in the session, that is a little bit of less of a upbeat song. And of course I would pick the least upbeat song of this dance album to be one of my favorites.
You know what? I don't know if it was just because it only popped up a couple times on the shuffle or whatever. I didn't remember the song particularly really well, but now that I'm listening to it, I love it. Really enjoying it.
And get to the middle of it. The middle is like, it bang. Like it's so good, and the lyrics so strong. It's again, I like a good song that kind of is the underdog, where you don't really think about it. Where I think Taylor on Lover had that Friends song that I really liked.
Yes.
And that's one that's really quiet. It's almost skippable, but like this is something that's really quiet, almost skippable. It's towards the end. It's right before Maria. But also it feels like a linchpin to the song that was my number 3, Happy for You. It almost feels like a similar vibe, which I like.
Yeah. So what's your number 1? Hold on, let me think.
I've mentioned it already.
You mentioned that you were going to talk about Illusion. Is it Illusion?
It is Illusion.
Okay.
I love that song. I feel like right from the get-go, you know, the way she did the storytelling about like, hey, I know, all these red flags, and there's times where I just get so swept up into you that I don't care. And for me, it's the better version of Houdini. It's just like, it's a very similar song, but says more. I think the beat starts right away. It's just like, it hooks you in all elements. It's good, story, good sound.
The middle's really dance room catchy too, club catchy. Man, I see, and this is why I love this album. We can pick 5 completely different songs and still have reasons to like all of them. Yeah. Like there's no song on this album that I did not like.
It's such a clean cut album. I think, again, especially when you're talking about like the masterpieces of Renaissance Act 2, you talk about the non-masterpiece, in my opinion, of Taylor Swift's last album, but they're all so long-winded. And this is just like, no, I want to make the cleanest album you can. I just want to make a solid album. And it's done here in so many ways. You could tell how much thought is being put down into the production. You are like, but I still want dance music. I still want something thoughtful. And it's just like, it's just I hate to say it's a perfect album because I don't know, because it's not a 5-star album. That's
Correct.
what makes
like
it hard. It's a 4, but in some ways that kind of makes it the perfect album because it's just so solid. It's just so like it's reliable, if I'm being honest.
It's your favorite meal from your favorite restaurant. It may
Mm-hmm.
not be the best version of that meal you've ever had, but like for instance, before Olive Garden changed their recipes about 6 years
It's
ago,
the Olive
I could
Garden
eat.
of
Yeah,
albums.
I could eat their chicken marsala every week, and I will, I could still find a fancier chicken marsala, but that was just so good. Like this is just so good. My dogs are losing it. There must be a coyote. Ooh, I'm pretty sure there is. All right, you
Oh.
keep talking about Olive Garden. I'm gonna pause my camera for just a second.
Yeah, no, I probably will not talk about Olive Garden, but no, that is what I liked about the album. It's just a very it's just very solid, and I think Dua. I don't want to say she's an underdog because I think people know her, but honestly, something I was a little surprised by was how many people weren't really talking about this album. If I'm being honest, it came out right.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a lot of people were talking about it.
But and I think comparing Dua Lipa to Olive Garden is the worst possible analogy. But
No,
it
but I get what
helps
you're
me
saying.
think about it.
Yeah.
But it's maybe something. Can we do something fancier than Olive Garden? It's not Nobu.
No, but I agree. But I agree with the Olive Garden because you're
comfort.
and also okay. I'll give an
Breadsticks.
example of something I really like. I really love Buffalo Wild Wings. Right? Is it the best restaurant ever? No. Is it the best wings you've ever had? No. But why I think it's one of my favorite wings is because you go there and you get the most consistent wing you've ever had in your life.
Yes.
It's consistent. It's solid. Not bad, but it's not like, wow, this is the best buffalo wing I ever had. So that is why I think Olive Garden's a great version to say about Dua Lipa because she is the reliable snack, She
and
is the reliable meal.
Again and again and again and never get sick of it.
Right.
Can't keep listening to Taylor Swift.
Sure.
I can't eat at Nobu first off,
exactly.
I can afford that. But you can't eat at places like that every single day. You can't have lobster
That's not a
every
treat
single
anymore.
day.
Not a treat anymore.
Exactly. There's something nice about knowing that that's consistent and that is good and stable and solid. Like even right now, it's on, so like I have my Amazon Music playing like really low in the background. I'm listening to it right now. It's not distracting. It's enjoyable. Sure. It's relaxing. I can tell a different song. It's not like other albums that you're kind of overwhelmed with. This is just a really solid, comfortable, enjoyable album. It's almost like a popcorn version, popcorn movie version of a music album.
Sure.
The popcorn movies, Mission
like
Impossible.
Like the blockbusters, like the MCU. It's like the MCU.
Can you hear the coyotes?
I heard a little bit. Yeah.
Our livestock dogs are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. There are coyotes that live down in the thing down below us, and
that's so crazy that there's
livestock
coyotes.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Like their job is literally to be big and menacing and terrifying. And my dog is 105 pounds, and that is his job. That being said, I might have to go check on the whole coyote situation.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's wrap up. If you have to leave, let us go ahead and do what you have to do. But yeah, that was the end. Anyways, I like the album. It's solid. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And let's Dua Lipa. Yeah. Anything you want to say before you run to the coyotes?
I want to remind everybody that you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Gmail, thelegendaryladies@gmail.com, Instagram, The Legendary Ladies, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, wherever you listen to our podcast. Thank you. Leave a review. We love to hear from you. Email me and tell me if I did my top 3 right. You can find me on Instagram, Amy_HYP. I've got a new play coming out in just a little over 2 months now in July. It's going to be Much Ado About Nothing in Temecula with Shakespeare in the Vines. So if you guys are in the Temecula area, which is not too bad of a drive from Los Angeles, it's kind of right in the middle of San Diego and LA, come see it. It's going to be at a winery literally as the sun is setting, like right now. They will have better lighting that stays on. So if you're watching us on our YouTube page, youtube.com, we're The Legendary Ladies, you'll get a kind of a cool view of the sunset that was happening in front of me. Anyway, Kat, doth thou have a Kickstarter?
I do. We have 2 right now. We have our detective book, Devin and Taylor. If you like Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys kind of puts a spin on that of not why a crime is done. I mean, not who did the crime, but actually why a crime has been done. So go check that out. And Witches of Oz. It's Glinda and the Wicked Witch falling in love. Not safe for work. Go check it out. And then next week, we'll be doing Maggie Rogers. So listen to the 2 latest albums. You have the one that was just released and the one released about 2 years ago. We're going to be comparing them, doing top 5s for that. So we're excited about it.
We're also going to be diving into Bridgerton season 3, part 1 when it comes out.
That.
Kat is gonna watch it.
I'm gonna.
She's actually never seen Bridgerton at all, so this will be very interesting. Morgan and I are here for it. Join us on Patreon. I kind of think now I want to do a Met Gala review. But thank you guys so much for listening in. Kat, is there anything else we want to share? Where can people find you online?
At Comic-Uno, best place to find me.
Best place to find Kat. And also maybe going and seeing Water for Elephants on my behalf, so you can tell me whether or not certain individual who I'm not allowed to say thought it was actually good or not. I could say it's not like you can't find the name. He's the only actors equity person who was in our cast. It's I really, really want to know.
If my friend wants to go see it, I'll go see it. She's the one who controls the Broadway schedule.
I really do wish I lived there for stuff like this. I really do. Ugh.
I think you would have a good time with it. And you can find cheaper tickets too. So I know the one we're going to is like $40, so it's not
that's
tremendously, but it's very manageable. So all good stuff. But thank you guys for watching and stay legendary.